second. And hey, you, welcome to Relish Every Word. We have been in the live stream for a while. We've been reading some synopsis of some famous stories and some made up of our own by the followers and members of this channel. So it's been kind of an exciting day. We've heard a wide range of interests and lots of different angles and how things came, how they came at it. And it's all been really brilliant. And thank you so much, guys, for those of you who did your homework, unlike me, who didn't do her homework. So, we are talking about character development today, and we mentioned this earlier. Ultimately, a story is about what your character does next. It's not about what your character does. It's about what happens to them and how they react. And we use the example of, you could say, oh, my character loves to clean house and keep a nice garden and everything is going, good, and she made a great pot pie tonight. But that's not really a story. That's just a thing, and it's not very, whatever. I know bad how I'm not doing my homework. No time. The story could be same thing, and then a tornado rips up half her house. Now, how is she going to handle that? The story is, does she become a carpenter? Does she learn a whole new skill in life so she can rebuild her house herself? Does she fall apart, end up in depression? And our story is about someone struggling through darkness and coming out of living in an institution, perhaps. Does she decide that, she's had enough of tornadoes and she's just moving to an entirely new country? And our story is about her learning the language and trying to fit in and going through culture shock and all the rest of it. So the character is not the story, but you can't have a story without a character. And I mean, if your only character is a world, a globe that is sentient, and we're hearing the story from inside of the earth as people destroy it, that's still a character. And the story is about what your character does next. So we need our characters, and we really need to know a lot about them. And there's kind of a fine line between I know enough about my character, my main characters at any rate, and I'm going to continue playing with this because that lets me feel like I'm being a writer, but I never actually have to write my story because that's the scary part. Characters are fun. Building characters are really fun. Essentia has sat down with me on many occasions and flipping through, I'll tell her about a character that's in my head and, going through old magazines and cutting out pictures of people. I can put that on the wall. You guys can't see this, but right here above my desk, there is a massive big bulletin board, and I've got pictures of houses. I've got flow charts of characters and their relationships up here. I put character pictures up here. So if I want to describe somebody, I can look up and go, oh yeah, that's and I've got it. So that works for me. And I have a lot of notes. I've got the mock-up of my first cover. It's right here in front of me. So yeah, just little things to help me remember that I actually want to be a writer when I grow up, right? So building characters is so easy and fun, says Demonac, but he's one of the smartest people in the world. So just
he might be being sarcastic.
Probably not. That's the bad part. It's probably not. So, what do you know about your character? And a lot of the things I'm going to say today, I'll never use that, but you really don't know. I mean, you need the broad strokes. And a lot of times we start with characters. And we have just, somebody we've read about, and we think about how we would change it and go, oh, I love that person. That person would be so cool to be around. It would be so much fun. So we want to write about them, but the obvious, the color of their hair, how tall are they, what do they weigh, where did they go to school, where were they raised,
do they have a really mouthy
sound
dog?
Effects by ballot, do they have a really mouthy dog, because it can make a difference. Are you footloose and fancy free, you got a dog, boy does that change your life. But you need to know those big basics, and those are usually we know that already. But are they right or left-handed? What kind of food do they like to eat? Tell us about how they were, do you know what they were like in high school? Because things that happened in high school is definitely going to determine who they are today. What previous jobs have they had? What are their dreams? What's stopping them from reaching those dreams? Is it something they're doing to themselves? Is it outside issues? Does it look like it's outside issues, but it's really something they're doing to themselves? You need to know all of those things, and you can write them down. And as I was working on a Kiss for Luck today, and you know what, I will try to get back to that tonight. And I'll have a place where, like character sheets where you can just fill in questions. Just answer the questions and fill in things. What kind of toothpaste do they like? Do they like peppermint, or they just always brush with baking soda. Do they brush their teeth? Let's hope they brush their teeth.
Yeah,
that's good. Is their hair long, short? Why? Why is it long or short? Is it long because they feel that, right in my it was like right here. And Ray, exactly, of how characters approach each other. That's really good. And we learn about our characters. Well, I'm getting ahead. We need to know everything we can possibly think about. And you need to say, what would they do in this situation? What if something like that happened to them, or something like this happened to them? Even if it's not in the story, because when you're actually writing it, even though you know what's going to happen, you've got you can have every scene and every single paragraph, or every page. This has to happen on that page. That has to happen on that page. When you actually start writing it, you're going to come into all kinds of places where you have no idea what that character would do. And if you don't, is it going to be consistent? Are you going to make the same, kind of the same slant 6 months from now when you're writing about that character again? We want our characters to surprise people, but we need them to be believable. And if I have written an entire story about somebody who has got an anxiety disorder and literally has never left her house, and then one day something happens and she says, well, I'm not putting up with that, and she walks out the door and goes to take care of it. Well, I feel cheated just saying it. It's like, no, that would never happen. Maybe it would happen, though, if we have hints. If we know the backstory of this girl is there's a specific reason she's not left her house, and there's going to be one thing in the world that will trigger her into stepping out and getting it done. If you know that already, if you've written that backstory that will never get used in there, you will have written her in such a way there will be hints. There will be clues. There will be little things in there that when she does that, we'll go, yeah, of course. Oh my God, I'm so excited for her. She finally did that. And we'll believe it. But you really have to know who your characters are. And you need to ask a lot of those questions. Now, that's the big guys. And you have to know what they want and why they can't get it. And hopefully maybe not even, what they're going to do to get it, but what character traits do they have that will allow them to get it? And not everybody's perfect, and we're not even going to like perfect characters. We like the people who get angry, who get ticked off, who stand up, who rage sometimes, who get mad and throw something at the wall, because we've all felt that. And if we get to live it through somebody else, we can love those characters for the things that are so-called bad about them. We can end up what makes us love them. But of course, they do have to have something about them that redeems them from just being jerks. I'm emo and depressed and miserable and like to cause trouble. Isn't that somebody where it's like, oh my God, somebody's threatening to shoot them. Yay! Would you just kill them and get them out of my life?
Yeah.
So there's got to be that balance that make them real. Now, if we can surprise people with our characters, that's brilliant too. But we'll get to that. Now, there will be a lot of characters you don't need all that backstory with. If you need to have a waitress come up and she has 2 or 3 scenes and she has a really important line she has to deliver, we need her. You can just write her in on the fly. And it doesn't hurt, though, to find out if I need a waitress, what could be different about her? What could make her stand out as a real person? Does she have a funny accent? Do we see her getting frustrated just before she has to bring that message to us? Do we see that she's got her kid hidden in the coat closet because the babysitter didn't show up? If her boss finds the kid there, she's in trouble. You can have and it just takes a line. It just takes a line or two to make her real, make her count. And she answers the phone, she's writing the message, she tells her kid, get back, honey, I don't want the boss to see you. And then she puts the phone down and says, my kid is there, but I've got to get this message to that guy. Give her a little conflict, find her, fix it, just a sentence or two where she runs over to get the message. And all of a sudden you get a much more interesting character than, here's your paper, sir, bye, and walks away. Now, sometimes those little tiny characters can surprise you and they become a lot more important, and then you're going stop and you have to write whatever they need. But create your characters, ask a lot of questions. Why are they doing this? What was their backstory like? What was their childhood like? What were their problems there? If I say, oh, I'm going to make them afraid of snakes, well, why Why are they afraid of snakes? You can just pop that in, and then you'll say it one day. Oh, they're so scared of snakes. And it's like, yeah, whatever.
Where'd
Nobody.
that come from?
Yeah. But if you know why, you can say she's just scared of snakes, and then later on you can have somebody else say, well, of course she's scared of snakes. Remember the time when we were kids and so threw, and whatever.
Yeah, sometimes it can be really subtle, but as long as you know what it is, you write it in a way that comes across more believably somehow.
It does, yeah. And I can't even say I always understand how that happens, but it can really make a difference. So for next week, can I get this up in time? Can I get this up tonight? I'm going to post some things you can fill out for characters.
Character questionnaires.
Like a questionnaire, just pages. I'm sure that, I'm sure there's lots of them online. I bet you have, okay, she just found a cool link. I'll look over that, and maybe I'll just put links to them for you. And I'll just put a post right on the front page of Kiss for Luck right after this. Demon X saying, if your character does something out of character, you should know that.
Yeah.
You need to know that, because if you're not your readers are going to. They're absolutely.
If something just sticks out like a sore thumb, they're gonna be able to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody who's always been brave is suddenly scared. Well,
why?
Yeah.
And maybe there's something about that situation that is why they're scared. But if you don't know that.
Yeah. And having them be right-handed right along, or not even saying that, but explaining it in such a way that we think they're right-handed, and then their right hand got chopped off, but they got the guy right between the eyes of the gun with their left hand, and we're going, what? Would you time?
Yeah. What just happened?
I have written characters in and forgotten what color their hair was supposed to be, and I've got some other character who just loves blondes, and oh yeah, mine's dark. Shoot, I forgot.
Oops.
So. You need to have a lot of backstory. I think you really got to spend a lot of time on all of your main characters, and don't make them carbon copies of you.
And your antagonists and everything. Yeah.
Yes, don't make them you. Everybody's got to have their own. You can't have them kind of all wanting the same thing, because you're not going to have a whole lot of conflict going on, and you're not going to have any surprises. If you have one person that wants to rob the bank and one person that doesn't want to rob the bank, you got a pretty straightforward conflict. If you have a third person who doesn't really care anything about the bank at all, but is somehow involved with this and only really wants to go to Jamaica, but we don't know that until they're all right there at the door of the bank, and the one guy just says, yeah, I'm going to Jamaica. Now the other guys have got a problem. They need to have their own lives, I think is the thing. They've got to have their own goals. And if you know their backstories and they are diverse enough, and then you put those three people together, you're going to have surprises. You're going to have conflicts that you haven't even thought of yet. So really creating these different, really create them as standalone people. Here's what I do, because I have a hard time making sure everybody else has their own goals. I know what my main person always wants, but the others get a little wishy-washy, I think.
Especially if they're a smaller role.
Yeah, or even when they're the bigger ones, they can be. Yeah, I write the next big character, even though they're the antagonist or there's some support character or whatever. If I were going to write that character's book, if they were the main character for a book, how would I write out all the things that they need to do and all the things that they want and all the things that are stopping them? Then it becomes very personal. I look at it from their point of view, their family, their friends, their whatever, and I forget this other character entirely. Then when I bring them together, it works. It works so well for me that way, but I have to actually kind of shift into, I'm just, let's pretend the main character doesn't exist. This is now my main character, and how do I develop that? And then when you've got enough of those, you've got enough people for a story. So we will post some things, and we want some characters next time, and I may just ask some random questions. Well, what would they do in this sort of situation? I'll come up with 4 or 5 questions and just say, you're going to tell me about your character, then I'm going to say, what would they do in this situation? What would they do in that situation? And see how well you actually know them. I like it.
Yeah.
And I'll do, I don't know if I need to have a character I can do that with that I haven't already done that with, but
must be someone somewhere. one of the stories.
There's got to be one somewhere. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to say goodbye to the people in YouTube. Guys, thank you so much for being around. This is what we're working on, and I really encourage you to come over into the live stream in Twitch, because you can come into Ray Call. You can read your work. We'll try to have the Kiss for Luck channel page or website done within a day or two, so that we can actually start using that to compare things in here and getting some real feedback on actual sentences and how they're working, because we're going to need that. We're going to need that really soon as we start writing more descriptive things, and we, you know what, the idea of dialogue, can I have my manager make me a note? Dialogue for next week, because it's big. You can't write without dialogue. And someone was saying that some of the dialogue wasn't sounding the way they wanted to, so I'm going to dig out some bad ones, and I'm going to dig out some good ones, and we'll talk about what makes them different. So for you guys on YouTube, please leave your comments, like, subscribe, all those good things, and do come over to TwitchNet so we can join in. Till I see you next time, live your life happy, build it beautiful. Bye-bye.